We do. Oh, and it already started recording.
Welcome, everyone. We're so thrilled to have you all join us today. We're going to wait a minute while people are connecting to the session, and we're thrilled to have you all here. Feel free to put a message in the chat. Tell us where you're connecting from. I see some of you already. Welcome, Steve. So good to have you on with us from Augusta, Georgia. Hi, and welcome. Thank you for making time, everyone, to join us for our Night of Cyber. We're going to get started here in just a minute. We've got a great lineup of events, and our team has worked hard, and we have great industry panelists with us today to give you their advice and answer your questions as well. Let's see, we've got Pensacola in the house. Welcome, everyone. Great to see you all again, too. Great to see you, Daniel. Go Argos. Okay, well, we're thrilled again. Good evening. We'll go ahead and get started. And we are thrilled to be presenting our annual UWF Night of Cyber, along with the cybersecurity team and our fabulous lineup of cybersecurity leaders from across the industry. My name is Imanal Sheikh. I'm Associate Vice President here with the University of West Florida Center for Cybersecurity. And we're thrilled to have you all here. And I want to start by thanking our incredible team for putting this event together, and for thanking all of you for making time, and our panelists as well. And we'll start by going through and just introducing our team. If y'all could kind of do a quick wave or hello when I call your name, that would be great. And you'll get to hopefully they'll answer your questions. Feel free y'all to put in questions in the chat window as we go along. We'll make sure to kind of get to those as well. So this event was spearheaded by Jim Rhodes, our Community and Public Relations Director. We also have on the line, and I'm going to go through my list in alphabetical order here, or in the order I see it so I don't miss anyone. Julie White, our awesome office manager, and who's helping behind the scenes with the prizes. So stay till the end, because if you're here with us and you registered, we are going to give away some pretty cool prizes at the end of the event. Anthony Pinto, Professor of Cybersecurity and Program Director for the Cybersecurity Program, and also Fellow with the Center for Cybersecurity. Carrie Atkins is one of our awesome UWF Cyber Ambassadors, and you'll be hearing from Carrie shortly in talking about what they do. And Tiffany as well, another one of our awesome cybersecurity ambassadors, and you'll get to hear from both of them as well. Our cyber ambassadors are mentored by Guy Garrett, none other than Professor Garrett, our assistant director, and we may be joined by his cute kitties during the session. We'll see, and he'll be talking about our cyber ambassadors program later today as well. And I think I got everyone on the team, so welcome. And thank you for being with us. And we'll jump right in. And just a note to our attendees, you're welcome to put in any questions that you have in the chat window. Our team would be happy to answer questions, as well as our panelists when we get to the industry panel about around 6 p.m. And feel free to also email us if you have additional information. We'll share that contact information at the end as well. All right, let's jump to it. Thanks for joining us.
Hey guys, my name is Anthony Pinto. I'm a faculty member in the computer science department, which houses the computer science bachelor's and master's degree, as well as the bachelor's and master's in cybersecurity. And as Dr. El-Sheikh mentioned, I'm also a fellow and really associated with the Center for Cyber. So what we're going to talk about here is cybersecurity is a really multidisciplinary field. A lot of people think it's just like hackers that you see on TV and very technical, but it's not anymore. It encompasses so much of our life that it's in every aspect. And you need business people to make decisions related to cyber. You need analysts to understand what's happening and how to attack these problems. So people with critical thinking skills, you need salespeople, you need marketing people. There's all kinds of vulnerability type people, supply chain management. It's just psychology, because we have social engineering attacks and all that kind of stuff. So don't just think you have to be a tech to be a cyber specialist or be in this field. Pretty high salaries, especially to start. And I know these are true. I know students that have graduated from here, and starting salaries were in these ranges, depending on what part of the country and things like that. It's certainly something that impacts us in the community and nationally. And I think everybody knows that, because you see all the cyber hacks, and they're not just little simple things anymore. You know, power lines, gas lines, recently we're getting hacked, ransomware, stuff like that. The federal government, state governments, all kinds of schools, hospitals. So it's definitely something that gives you a sense of community and a sense of self-worth if you do this. Next. So as you see from this slide, and you can find this data all over the internet, we use CyberSeek, but just the jobs that are open, just in Northwest Florida alone, there's like over 1,000 jobs right now, and that number is probably underestimated. And in Florida itself is 21,000. The US is almost 500,000, and again, I think that number is going to grow because there's just not enough qualified people to fill those positions. So if you like this stuff and you think you find an aspect that you're good at and you like, you should definitely at least investigate cyber. Next. This slide, the University of West Florida is a National Center of Academic Excellence. So what that is just the NSA, along with their partners in academia and business, have come up with this program that basically says, if your programs teach what we think they should teach and what students should have when they graduate, we'll designate your program. This also says that the university does the kind of things that universities should do. In other words, outreach, they secure themselves. So we don't just teach it, we practice what we preach. We do research in that area, all those types of things. And that's what this designation. So it's a pretty important designation. One of the accolades that the University of West Florida had, among all the larger schools in the Southeast region, the NSA chose us to be the Cybersecurity Regional Hub. And the reason, and what that means is we basically, we're not in charge, we don't manage the other schools, but we're the main point of contact. We distribute information, we get everybody to collaborate on research projects, and we've got tons of those. We coordinate with other schools, we have competitions with them, all kinds of things like that. So for the whole Southeast region, you think about all the big name schools, and we were chosen So I think that says a lot for this cyber team, for the people that are here, that we're the regional hub for the Southeast, which is Kentucky all the way through Florida and Puerto Rico. Next. We also, besides the NSA CAE designation, the cybersecurity program is ABET accredited, and ABET is a engineering accreditation. It's very, very well known. Our computer science department, our computer science program is also all the engineering programs like computer, electrical, mechanical engineering are ABET accredited at UWF. And it just says that this separate private organization says, again, you're doing what you need to do for students when they graduate to be professionals. It's not like a fluff program. ABET is very, very rigorous. It's not an easy thing to get. Next, as I mentioned, UWF has multiple programs, and it's definitely multidisciplinary. So at the top are the programs mainly in the, well, I guess there's undergraduate, graduate, and there's certificate programs. So the top one is the one that I was talking about, that's NSA and ABET accredited. That's our bachelor's in cybersecurity. It's relatively technical. We also have one in information technology, which is more infrastructure, like a security manager, security administrator, network administrator. They teach you a little more on that realm. We also have computer science and software development. And again, cybersecurity, at least at the technical level, is understanding how the computer works and be able to secure it. So computers are what? Networks, operating systems, databases, and programs, software. So both those degrees, sorry about that, my Amazon just decides to talk sometimes. So we'll let that go. We also have a international studies degree. It's talk about security and diplomacy, right? Because governments get involved in this. And then you can see all our master's programs are listed there. And we have a few certificates. We have a certificate, so you can get started if you're not sure what you want to do. You can look at those certificates. Next. We also have, as I said, we do research and we have a lot of grants. So we have a couple of grants that we received that we've got scholarships for. And the first one is a really good grant. It's called Scholarship for Service, and it's through the National Science Foundation. And what that is basically is they pay, it's like a football scholarship, but for cyber. So they pay for your education, they give you a stipend, and you go to school. The only thing is you have to work for the federal government for as many years as you get the scholarship. And in addition to that, they send you to some conferences, they do professional development, there's a career fair kind of thing. The bottom one is very, very similar to that, but that's just for DoD. So if you get that program, you would work for the Department of Defense. Whereas the other one, you can work for the Department of Defense or any other organization. So we have two of those. As part of my role, I'm also the advisor for our cyber club, cybersecurity club. Actually, Tiffany and Carrie are both in the club as well. And it's just like any club at the university, except we do cyber. So we compete in competitions, we practice during the week, we meet about once a week. We do practice sessions, we learn more about cyber. So once you have classes, this is where you get to explore what cyber is really about. You get to take your passion and go in a direction. You get to work on a team, so you get soft skills, right? Because we teach you in class, but learning how to work as a team, to talk to people, talk to your teammates, attack or defend or something like that. And these are some of the accolades that our teams have gotten over the last several years. And there's some pictures of our team as well. Next. We also have other programs. For example, we sponsor, in fact, it's tomorrow, actually, I'm sponsoring 4 teams from Pine Forest High School and a team from Gulf Breeze. And in the past, I sponsored teams from Catholic High and middle school teams like Bellevue Middle in Cyber Patriot, which is a national high school and middle school competition in cybersecurity, securing virtual machines. We also have a Women in Cybersecurity Club, a chapter of that, which is really spectacular. We're working really hard to get a more diverse population in cyber, to get more women and more underserved people. And the last one is I-10 Wired, which is a local conference which has a competition associated with it. So if you want to get involved, we also have internships at the university. The center hires researchers. Mr. Garrett's going to talk about the ambassador program, which again is students. So if you want to get involved and you want to get paid, we're the place to be. I think that's it for me. Yes. Thank you for listening. Appreciate it.
All righty. Thank you so much, Anthony Pinto. So Anthony's one of my partners on the GenCyber camps. GenCyber is how the Cybersecurity Ambassador Program is sponsored. In addition to the funding for the camps, we also do year-round outreach, both before the camps and after the camps. And we'll get Carrie and Tiffany involved here in a moment, telling you about that. But this is one of those programs that's sponsored by the NSA and NSF that allows these young people to come in and find out what cyber is all about. And in addition to some puzzles and some games and some challenges we throw at them, we also really push a heavy emphasis on hands-on experience with real-world cyber tools and real-world cyber challenges. In fact, for just a moment, I'd like to get Tiffany and Carrie to come on for a bit. Can you tell us a little bit about the camp? The one down in the far right corners was our camp this year. It was the first time we did a virtual camp. We had 40 Girl Scouts from across the United States in the camp. Ladies, can y'all describe a little bit for about a minute of what we were doing with the Girl Scouts and how they got their badges actually for being in the camp?
Yeah, I guess I'll go. I'm muted. So essentially this camp, it was a bunch of Girl Scouts, and we originally were going to be kind of set in just kind of the Southeast. Turns out we got them from how many states? I think it was like 13 states. It was a lot of states from all over the country.
17.
And wow, that's a
17
pretty
states.
good number. And these girls who came in and really knew nothing about what cybersecurity really was, other than don't tell people your name on the internet, don't give out personal information. And by the end of it, we had them performing actual exploits and things that people in the real world use today. And these were people who were in 5th, 6th grade. I think we even had a 2nd grader who was able to sneak in and blew everyone else out of the water. And so all these people came in, some didn't have really high confidence until they really got their hands dirty and started playing with these tools. And you could really see when stuff clicked in their head and they started to learn what all this was about, and that they could do this, that this isn't just someone behind a computer all the time. So Tiffany also had a lot happen with her there.
Yes, and so first of all, I need to apologize. My daughter is behind me, so if you hear her. But so with give me just a second, please. With GenCyber, we got to run through a lot of demos with them about cryptology. My apologies. We learned about cryptology. I think we even went through a reconnaissance demonstration with them during the camp. And like Carrie was saying, you know, these girls came in not having any prior background or knowledge, or at least most of them, I think, in cybersecurity. And by the end, I'm almost certain that we had at least 15 future cybersecurity specialists. So it was a really great experience, and it was just awesome.
And they got their badges doing it, where as they completed so many tasks each time, and as they learned how to recon, learned how to weaponize and exploit these vulnerabilities, they were able to earn badges. So that made them happy for multiple reasons.
Absolutely. So the Girl Scouts of America have been very forward thinking for about the last 8-9 years on getting girls involved in STEM. And one of the things that they did was create a cybersecurity journey. And what we were able to do was take the GenCyber concepts which is what NSA wants to make sure we teach these folks. And we matched it over to their badge requirements, and all of them earn all 3 badges in a week, which for a scout is very difficult to do. I mean, if they can get 1 badge in a week, that's a pretty big deal. So we got all 3 of them, and they worked really hard, and it was a big program. But the other thing that we get to do, and thank goodness that things are happening in the COVID world that are opening the doors again, is we're actually spending a lot of time reconnecting with our K through 12 schools. The picture you see here is from a previous team, Caroline and Megan in there. And this team is getting ready to gear up now that the schools have said it's okay to have visitors. And we're going to be going out and taking 16 laptops in front of these kids and walking them through a cyber experience. And so the point is that when people hear about cybersecurity, everybody thinks, oh, it takes a lot of math. That's got to be hard. That's something I can't do. And when we put them on a computer and we walk them through it step by step, and we engage them in the challenges, it's fun to watch these kids light up and go, wow, I can do this. And once you get that spark, then what you are able to do is let the local teachers continue to fuel that fire and direct those young people into subjects that a lot of kids want to walk away from, especially young women and people who are coming from other areas. So that's something that we work on quite a bit, and we're about to get we've got a pretty heavy schedule coming up as we get to right before the November break, because the schools really want to see us again. And of course, COVID took that away. Julie, could you answer the next slide, please? Thank you so much. So here's some resources. We'll leave them on the screen for you if you want to take a look at some of the things that we do. Of course, if you want to see what's going on at the center, there's a whole lot of things happening at the center, not only just workforce development and outreach and different kinds of training courses that we do, but we got a lot of research that we're conducting for a lot of folks. So if you want to find out a little bit more about that, there's the site. We have an introduction to cyber careers video. There's a career pathways tool, which will help you kind of figure out where you fit in cyber. I can tell you from personal experience, I reinvented myself at the age of 40. I got a chance to get a master's in computer science before we ever had cyber degrees. And I found cyber as something I really enjoyed. So, back in the day, I started out as a journalist of all things, and I've been a salesman, an operations manager. I tell people on my resume, I've had more lives than a cat, but I wound up in cyber. So if you're one of those folks that's not just right out of high school, don't think cyber's not for you. And there's plenty of places for it, like Anthony was talking about, everything from selling cyber solutions all the way to getting into some of the technical aspects that we do. Learn more about cyber degrees and careers with this link. And finally, we have a video at the bottom called I Am Cyber. I highly encourage everyone to watch that. That was something that we put together with one of our middle schools, and you will have a very special about 3.5 minutes with some students that are doing that. Now I'm going to see if I can ask Miss Julie to give me the power to share my screen. It looks like I'm inheriting that. And that is going to give me the ability to bring the ambassadors back, because we're going to show you what we actually do with this stuff. Ladies, can y'all see the learning objectives there?
Yes, we can.
All righty. So I'm going to start this off, and as we go through it, I'll let them comment. But the most important thing that we do is get people hands-on training. I mean, that's what we do when you come to the Cybersecurity Center for training with a workforce program that's, a couple of months, maybe a couple of weeks. We do upskill, reskill, all kinds of training there. If you go to the university, if you take a class from Mr. Pinto, and trust me, I have, very challenging courses, again, very hands-on, the curriculum that we have. But this, of course, is how we do it. So this is the lab that we did in the GenCyber camp, and we're continuing to take to the school. So this is the Lockheed Martin cyber kill chain. And we just kind of walk people through it, and then we start introducing them to the concepts and give them screenshots of what they're going to see. And then if you'll notice, we've got these step-by-step instructions. So I'm going to walk through this process just a little bit, and let's take a look at the section that we like to talk about most. Let's start out with this exploitation thing. So we get to a point where we've done the recon. We find out there's a machine out there that's not been patched or something. Carrie, can you kind of walk us through what happens next with that exploitation? Because you've got a really good way of explaining that.
Yeah. So essentially, this is one of my favorite labs, mainly because you get to show people what hackers are actually doing out there sometimes. So in this case, this could just be someone in the parking lot who managed to connect to your Wi-Fi and happened to find a weak computer. And so they, after doing a little bit of recon, they decided that it was time to get a little weapon in there. So they found some versions of unsecure software. So they armed a payload to go against that insecure software. And once you hit exploit right there, or rather before that, you have to set options. So the set options will essentially be a just quick little say where your target's going, say who you are, and then you type exploit and it passes it straight away. You'll see that it opens a command shell, which in this case actually gives you a root, which is, if you don't know, the highest rank you can be in a computer. So you can say, who am I, root, and then if you type grep root, etc shadow, that's actually going to be the hash of the root password. And I can say you really do not want that getting out. So just this short little thing, all it takes is someone scanning a network and seeing something insecure, and whoops, there goes all of your power in just probably 6 lines. So I like to think it's very fun, but I guess I'm a little bit dangerous like that.
And the interesting thing about this is, for those of you that may be thinking about a cyber career, you don't have to be a technical person to start out with. And in fact, there's a lot of roles. Oddly enough, in addition to my work on the tech side, I'm one of those crazy people that has an MBA and spent a lot of time on the business side. So I spend more time speaking with people about risk management than I do some of the technical things. Of course, we have technical training with Dr. Greg Hall, our research scientist, Dr. Sonny Francia, who is working in all things ICS and SCADA, the Internet of Things. If you want to know how to secure your refrigerator, he's the man to talk to. And of course, Dr. Tathankar Ghosh, our associate director, who is also involved with a number of the initiatives like the Scholarship for Service. So there's a lot of things that we bring together at the center, and we work in partnership with the university. Now, for the last moment of our time, I'm going to give each of these young ladies 1 minute to tell you a little bit about their degree programs, because Carrie is part of this cyber specific program we're doing, but Tiffany went the programming route, and she's discovered something in cyber that really interests her. And if she does her job, people like poor Carrie and me, who like to, look into systems and find things, really have a bad day. So Carrie, we'll start with you, then we'll tip it off to Tiffany, and then we'll wrap up and hand everything back to Julie. Go ahead, Carrie.
All right. Hi, once again, I'm Carrie Atkins. I am a cybersecurity major. I'm currently a junior. I have my AA in computer science. And so I felt pretty safe getting an AA in computer science, get my basics down, and then make that shift straight into cyber. So I'm a little bit different than some people and very similar to others, where pretty much as soon as I found out that cybersecurity was a field, this is like 6-year-old me, if not younger, that's what I wanted to be in. And so UWF, I've been to several other schools. UWF has blown each and every one of them out of the water. And that is not an exaggeration, where I have learned more here than I have a lot of other places very quickly. And the classes teach you things that are valuable, where they're up to date, they're actively covering things that happened yesterday. And for me, at least, that's very important. And in cybersecurity, you need to know not what happened yesterday, but also what happened today and probably what's going to happen tomorrow. And so I feel like UWF is very quickly making that transformation, and they're, sorry, got distracted by a question in the chat. And but other than that, we have the cybersecurity team, which was mentioned earlier by Mr. Pinto. And really, with all those things combined, you're not missing out on anything if you come to UWF for that.
I see that question, Carrie. I'll take care of Andy Nelson's question. Tiffany, why don't you describe about your area of cyber? Because a lot of people don't know about the area you're going to be going into as a cyber professional.
Yes, so I am a senior at UWF, and my degree is actually in software design and development. I'm also taking 2 certification programs, or involved in 2 certification programs for cybersecurity and database systems, as well as a minor in computer science. So I actually, up until the GenCyber camp this summer, I had no idea of anything about cyber. I didn't know that I wanted to go into it. And so I did this camp, and a guy here told me about DevSecOps, which stands for Development, Security, and Operations. And so it basically takes a little bit of everything and combines it together, right? From development and cybersecurity and IT, and developing things in a way with security in mind. You'll frequently hear that there's a friendly little rival between software engineers and the people over in cybersecurity. and because the people in cybersecurity always break whatever the software engineers are making. And my goal is to is to get ahead of that, and develop something securely to begin with. And I don't want Carrie to be able to break the things the things that I'm coding or the programs that I'm putting out. So at UWF, there are a lot of amazing teachers there that actually teach on the software and development side with security in mind. Whenever I was able to take my first software engineering class, that was one of the first things that we were taught, that we should always develop securely. So yeah, and I'm going to give it over to Guy from here.
That's fine. Thank you, Tiffany. Thank you, Carrie. I mean, we bake security in up front. And of course, when you start thinking about what the DoD is talking about with the CMMC process and everything else, that is becoming more and more important to think about security on the front end. I mean, I can remember days where you didn't install the latest edition of Windows until after Service Pack 1 when we get some of the bugs worked out. So those days are behind us. We're getting coders out there that are security focused. We're finding people that can test their work and make sure it's working. And also we're training folks that can track down the hackers that are causing all the headache. Now I'm going to be kicking this back over. I believe Dr. El Sheikh is going to come back and introduce our panelists tonight. Sit back, everybody. I have talked to a couple of these people myself in the past. They've got some great stories to tell you. And if you want to know how to get in the cyber field, this is the place for you. So sit back, enjoy your time, and thank you for spending a little bit of time with me and the ambassadors. Good night.
Thanks, Guy, and thanks, Anthony, and thanks to our awesome ambassadors. We are always so proud of our amazing students and the opportunity to work with them. And with that, I want to move to introduce the amazing lineup of industry professionals and leaders that we have with us here today. So fortunate that we have working relations with them to help fill their recruitment needs and get input from them. And I'd like to start by asking our panelists to briefly introduce yourself, tell us your title, what you do for your organization, and then we're going to hit some questions. And I want to ask the attendees to be ready and post your questions in the chat window, and we'll try to get those too. So why don't we start with Heather, and then Cathy, and then John and Patrick. Ladies first.
Thank you so much. So my name is Heather Ruston. I work for Walmart, currently as the Chief of Staff to our Deputy CISO in the Cybersecurity Department here at Walmart. So happy to be a part of this event. We have a great partnership with UWF, and they have a really strong cyber program, which you guys have heard about. Super program, one of the best out there. Just really happy that they've asked me to be a part of this discussion. So basically my role at Walmart is running the operations side of our business. So things like strategy, goals, budget, things of that nature, including industry outreach and recruiting and things like that as well. So thanks again for having me.
Thanks, Rachel. Great to have you here. Cathy?
Hi, my name is Cathy
Heather.
Crook.
I was reading the chat. I was multitasking, reading the chat and looking at Heather at the same time.
All
Go
good.
ahead, Cathy.
All good. Hi, my name is Cathy Crook. I am an associate with Booz Allen Hamilton. And a quick disclaimer, everything I'm talking about is not official from Booz Allen, except for the link that I'm going to provide later to see all the different careers that we have available in cybersecurity. So really quick with me, I consult for federal clients. And so I am the person that puts together privacy with cybersecurity in mind. So I'm a little bit different than everybody else. Everybody's mostly focused on cyber. My focus is on privacy, but you can't have privacy without cybersecurity, right? So that is kind of where our niche is with privacy. And I started off as an attorney in telecommunications, and so I've gone kind of roundabout way to get to where I am today. So just like I think Guy said that he started off as business guy and whatnot, he ended reinventing himself. It's kind of like, if you're interested in it, there is a part for you in it. It's very vast. Thank you for inviting me to.
We're thrilled to have you here. Thanks, Cathy. John? We can't hear you, John.
There we go. Does that work?
Yep.
Haha, okay. Too many buttons to push. So, good evening. I'm John Corliss. I'm a senior computer scientist with the United States Department of Homeland Security's Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, or CISA. I actually have a very large spot in my heart for UWF because I graduated from there twice with undergraduate and graduate in computer science. Yes. And I will definitely echo what Heather said and what Cathy said also. The UWF computer science and cybersecurity programs are absolutely top notch. I've talked around to a few other cybersecurity program colleges and universities, and yeah, ours is the best. Woohoo! So, and I also do a fair bit of hiring. So I've hired several UWF grads, and very pleased to say that the cybersecurity program at UWF does an awesome job of preparing you for the field. So yeah, I will also follow suit and throw our recruiting page into the chat. We have everything from entry level to very senior level positions, and yeah, looking forward to spending the evening with y'all.
Great, we're thrilled to have you, and we did not pay John to say that. We appreciate the feedback, and go Argos. Patrick?
Yes, thank you. Good evening, I'm Patrick Bobinger. I'm a manager of a security team under Navy Federal Credit Union. And obviously, for starters, I just wanted to thank UWF for this opportunity to kind of definitely spread the word of how great a career is in security and just the opportunities across the board. But specifically for my function, the Reader's Digest, we're one of the more technical teams in security. So we do a combination of threat hunt, purple team stuff, red team penetration testing, blue team detection work. But the main focus is, obviously trying to be as proactive as possible and intel driven to combat threats.
Great, thank you so much, Patrick, and to our panelists for joining us. And with one of the key things that you all have heard, those of you looking for jobs, whether students or career changers, across the panelists, is that they are all hiring, right? So that's a key thing to be watching out for. There are jobs out there, and we want to help connect everyone with those jobs. So speaking of that, I'd like to ask our panelists, and feel free to chime in, what types of cybersecurity career opportunities do you have at your organization or are you aware of? And feel free, whoever wants to chime in first.
I'll chime in. So we have several positions across our variety of teams in cybersecurity here at Walmart. So we're about 40 teams strong in our cyber program here at Walmart. So everything from pen testers, SOC analysts, program project managers, compliance, you name it, we have open positions. So check out the careers page I put in the chat. We'd love to have you.
Yeah, and I'll follow up with that. Thanks, Heather. So CISA is also hiring everything from entry level, like I said, all the way through senior. And one of the things that you'll quickly see as a student or as a new hire at any level is that there is a very broad range of interests that can be applicable to cybersecurity. So my entry point into federal government employment was actually designing missiles for the Navy, and that actually translates well across to cybersecurity. So we have another thing. If you if you live and breathe for process and documentation. I know for many of us who are technical, that's the most alien thing ever. How could anybody do that? But I have many friends and colleagues who that is the case. They're not technical, aside from what they pick up from talking to the cybersecurity people, or to the hands-on keyboards people. But the operations couldn't run without their without their input and expertise. So yeah, if you have a skill set, odds are very good that skill set can be can translate directly across to cybersecurity.
That's great. Do others want to chime in?
Yeah, I'll
Sure.
chime in. So, as a primer, sorry, Cathy. So I've actually brought back up with me as well, Jack Stover is also on the call. He's actually from Navy Federal Recruiting. But kind of, again, just like everyone else has stated, we have across the board career opportunities for, full-time employees, but more specifically for the people on the call that are, either going into school, into college, or already in college. We really have three main programs that we focus on kind of getting talent for. So there's a summer associate program, which is geared more towards graduate students, that master level, and that is obviously a summer program. We have a year-round intern program that's geared more towards the undergrad, and that provides an opportunity for a student that they want to make some money, but also kind of have that part-time ability to really dive into practical security experience. We offer that, and then we have the traditional summer internship for undergrad.
So,
Okay. Go ahead,
hi,
Cathy.
it's Cathy. So I put the link in the chat for the Booz Allen listings. There are tons of different, everything from risk analyst, threat intelligence analyst, educational specialists, test engineers. I mean, it runs the gamut, and there are a lot of jobs. And if you think you are interested, definitely apply, because we need employees.
That's great. And we can certainly take the links that you all provide and send them to participants along with the slides afterwards as well. So if you didn't catch those links, we'll include them in the follow-up email. Well, given the range of and diversity of job openings that you all have, and it kind of aligns with what our team was saying earlier about that the field is so diverse and the programs are so diverse. What advice do you have for someone interested in getting into cybersecurity? Some of the questions in the chat window have been, how do we get started? So what advice do you have for people to get started in cybersecurity?
So I'll go ahead and jump on that one. I've fielded that question more times than I can count, and it's always a very good question. And the good news is that it doesn't take take a lot of expense. It doesn't take it doesn't take building a multi-rack lab in your garage to get the experience you need. A lot of the tools that we use in cybersecurity have open source analogs. So if you want a sensor, you can go out and download Zeek. Used to be Bro. So for every enterprise grade tool, there is an open source there's an open source tool that matches the capabilities. So first off is probably going to be download Wireshark and fire it up and run it on your home PC until you're comfortable reading packet captures, and then you can get into some of the tools, the Elk Stack, some of the other open source SIMs. There are some open source network tools. ViOS is very Cisco like, so lets you tinker with network routing, things like that. So I get into the open source tools. Experience tends to be key. So if you're if you have a thirst for knowledge, you can go out, you can hunt on YouTube, you can browse the different forums, even if you have a very nebulous idea of what you're interested in, and find open source tools that'll that you can use to do that. Then take those open source tools as references, put them on your resume, because most of the people who are going to be looking at your resumes, most of the hiring managers are going to look at those and say, I know what this person knows how to do, and we have a spot where we can fit them in right here.
Perfect. See, so there are opportunities to just kind of learn as you go with tools and kind of help get the skills. What about Cathy and Heather and Patrick, and certainly, feel free to chime in. What about for kind of entry level or getting started in the types of jobs that you have? You talked about different cyber work roles. What would be helpful for people to know to help get in?
So I like what was talked about earlier with the cyber club and some of the cyber competitions and some of those things that you can do kind of outside of school that give you that real world experience, some of those soft skills. I know when I'm looking for people, that's something I always like to look for is what are those other things that they're doing to kind of just sharpen their skills and get different experience. I know the CCDC competitions are a big thing. We see a lot of great talent coming out of that. We actually had a couple interns from your cyber club over the summer, so that's a great program as well. But that's the kind of things that I look for to help people stand out a little bit.
Yeah, no, I'd like to definitely add on to that. So obviously John and Heather touched base on a lot of big things, but I think that really the biggest thing to kind of get started in security is to not be intimidated by it, right? So everyone thinks of hacking as a super technical thing, and Anthony and Guy and Tiffany kind of touched base on just a whole bunch of things, just categories that encompass it. And I think the fact that the individuals that have showed up for this session, like you've already taken that first step to kind of get your foot in the door, right? And not being intimidated and getting interested, because I can't tell you how many times someone, obviously I work at a bank, essentially people come from other departments, like from lending, that have been working in banking for X amount of years. They're like, hey, what can I do to get in security? Because I'm really interested. I do this stuff on my own after work. I have my own lab and I'm doing these things, right? And they're working in lending, like, right? So and I hear a year down the road that they've got a full-time job, working in security. So I think that's kind of one thing, is definitely not to be intimidated by kind of the structure, or at least the the veil that might come from just hearing the word cybersecurity.
For me and at Booz Allen, there's a lot of opportunities to join in at the entry level, but also switch careers and go laterally, because they need, like we were all talking about before, the soft skills and the different your ability in one sector can translate into cyber, but unless you step into it, you're not going to know what you're really capable of. So sometimes you just have to step into it and just do it. Go to all of these hackathons, the weekend stuff, those kinds of things. Anything that you can get your hands on that will expose you to it will show you what people are doing. And maybe you might not like that kind of part of the cybersecurity arena. And then so try something else. I mean, for me, I am not a programmer. I don't know how to program. So kudos to the ladies that do that. I am more of a risk management person. So I look to see how all of it's working together and to reduce the risk overall for the company. So it's a completely different aspect of it, but it plays a vital role in cybersecurity. So, I mean, there's a role for you. You just have to want to step into it and say yes.
I love that. There's a role for you, and there's different roles, as we're hearing. So whether you're into the coding or the risk management or the communications or the policy or the engineering or infrastructure side of it, there are so many different roles. And so that's great advice from our panelists. We have some questions here in the chat window. I want to encourage our attendees to put any questions. So I think there was a question, and John, I saw you answered that about switching from sysadmin to cybersecurity. And it's kind of, in terms of career progression, looking at that as an example, what would you all recommend for somebody wanting to switch careers from IT or sysadmin into cybersecurity? Would industry certifications help? Would additional training or a degree help? we always get asked about, should I get more industry certs? What should I put on my resume? So from your perspective out in industry, what do you think is important?
Yeah. So yes, yeah, you saw my response in the chat. Oh, sorry, lost my train of thought there for a second. Hang on a second. I'll let somebody else jump on that for a minute while I think I'm getting too squirrely.
So with Booz Allen, the certs are definitely a, I guess, the beginning part, so they can at least know that you have a certain bottom line level of understanding on what the job is that you're going to go into. For privacy, we want to have everybody to have those privacy certifications. There's a lot of other things that are going on out there. There's like the CMMC stuff is going on right now and the training for that. There's just a lot of different certs that you could get yourself into, or even not so much a cert, or just like those free webinars and training classes just to like get you interested in all the different aspects of it. So you don't necessarily have to spend the money right away until you find the section of cyber that you want to be in.
That's
Yeah,
great
that's a very good point, Cathy. It also depends very much on what specific field you're looking to get into. Like you said, Cathy, the privacy certificates are needed for some fields. I know also if you're looking to work for a contractor for a Department of Defense, they require Security Plus across the board. So. And then for the as a federal employee, different certificates in cybersecurity fields get you different pay incentives. So there can be a lot of different reasons for getting the various certificates. Most employers have published on their websites somewhere what if any certificate requirements they may have. So that would be a really good place to start for which certificates. And then I saw Nathan's follow-up. So GS levels can be a bit of a mystery if you're not if you're not quote unquote indoctrinated into that process. But it really irons out pretty straightforward. So as a new grad, with a bachelor's degree, usually you would come in at the GS 579 level, depending on whether you worked internships or have any other experience. So you would be looking for GS 579. Then if you're what they call journeyman level, so you have 5 to 7 years experience, you're looking at a 7911 range, and then 11, 12, 13 would be a subject matter expert. 14, 15 would be either a supervisory subject matter expert or a what they call a golden unicorn, somebody who is so good at what they do that you're a 15 without being a supervisor. Those are very, very rare. I will say most of our positions in cybersecurity across the government are actually recruited as either so that we hire in series. My background is computer science, and computer science series is 1550. But most of our cybersecurity analysts and operators and support personnel are hired on as series 2210, which is IT specialist. So that gives you an idea of the background of what you would need. Is if you're good with computers as an IT specialist, then you can apply for 2210 positions. I will say USA Jobs tends to be fairly opaque as to what your duties actually are. It just says 2210 and off you go. So it can be a coin toss. So you definitely want to ask your questions in the interview in that regard.
Great, thank you, John. Anyone else? Okay, I know we're close to wrapping up here. Actually, we probably got to wrap up so that we can continue, keep everyone on time, and we can stay on if you have questions, and certainly forward questions to the panelists and the team afterwards as well. Feel free to email us at cybersecurity@uwf.edu. I'm going to take a quick, first thank our panelists so much for all their time. And we will, if you want to stay on, that's fine. I just want to make sure we stay true to time and answer questions. And maybe while we're transitioning, ask our panelists to put in the chat window, what's one piece of advice you would share with people if you go back, right? What's one thing if you go back that you would do, or tell them this is what you really got to do? And feel free to add your contact info. We'll get that out to folks afterwards as well. Okay, so before we get to the prizes and the poll at the end, I want to introduce Dr. Dallas Snyder, who is with us as well. And he's going to quickly also give an overview about our IT program. Some of the questions in the chat asked about, IT and the relationship with cybersecurity and getting in. So Dallas, take it away.
Yes, so welcome. Thank y'all for joining our Night of Cyber. Appreciate you being here. I just briefly want to mention that we have the three undergraduate programs that were mentioned in computer science, cybersecurity, and we also have an information technology bachelor's program. We also have these same degree programs at the graduate level too. So if you already have a bachelor's degree and would like to get a master's degree, there are paths to do that. I just quickly want to let you know that in our programs, or in either program you take, that we are part of the Red Hat Academy, the Cisco Networking Academy, and the Oracle Academy. And also, we're part of the Microsoft Azure for Education. What does this mean? You get real software that you can use, you get hands-on using this software. So we're teaching RH124 and RH134. If you're not familiar with that, that's Red Hat System Administration 1 and 2. We teach Oracle database database administration on SQL Server. We also teaching it on Oracle. We also have VMware that students can use. And so we have all these wonderful software that you find in enterprise systems at these numerous companies around the world. And so we give you that great hands-on experience. Also, if you're already in another degree program, we have introduced two minors. We have an information systems administration minor and a network administration minor run through the IT department. So if you're in another degree program, but you'd be looking for some cyber skills, those two minors would get you those skills. And finally, I'd like to mention that you can get course credit, 3 credit hours for the Security Plus exam and 3 credit hours for the Network Plus exam, those through CompTIA. So again, just reach out to me. I'll put my contact information in the chat if you have any questions. So once again, thank you.
Great, thanks so much. And thank you again to our panelists. If we go around real Robin, I saw some great advice there in the chat window. Cathy, Heather, Patrick, and John, what's the last parting words or closing words you want to give to folks?
Good luck. It's fun. And it's always changing.
I think John said it in his closing comment in the chat, but just keep learning and keep being curious and try to stay ahead of the adversaries.
Yep. Prepare for excitement. Oh, go ahead, Patrick.
No, I was just going to reiterate exactly what Heather said. So yeah, just don't shy away from a challenge, and yeah, just have the eagerness to learn. So
yes,
awesome.
and for sure. Stay curious. I've been in cybersecurity for 16 years, and I learn new things every single day. It is never boring. So yeah, keep an open mind. Keep your research skills honed. You'll need them.
Thank you so much, Heather, Cathy, Patrick, and John, and just great words of wisdom. Never a dull moment, and there is a role for you, right? So keep that in mind. There is a job out there for each and every one of you in cyber, and we're here to help. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Jim. Thanks, everyone.
Yep, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
I'm gonna throw up some quick questions for our poll here. If you take a moment to answer that, we really appreciate everybody's participation tonight. And again, let me just emphasize, if you have any questions about any of our programs here at UWF, feel free to email us at cybersecurity@uwf.edu. I'm also the center's designated millennial, whether I like it or not. So if you'd rather do it via social media, we're on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Twitter. If you want to ask questions there, I'm monitoring that every day. So feel free to reach out to me there as well. And I thank you for your time. Julie, all you.
Yeah, now for the fun part. For those who stuck around this long, we have some prizes. I gave a sneak peek earlier. Let me see if I can pull them back up. To give away. So for attending, we have these cool prizes that we picked out that we'll be sending out. And what I did is I put everybody's name in a wheel. If I can pull it up, and we're just going to go from there. So if it lands on you, then we will reach out via email to get your address. All right, so Tyler. Okay, and then we'll let you pick the prizes based on the order that it came through. Okay, what is all of this? All right, up next. And if you want to do this while we're going, for Tyler and Penelope, y'all can put your choices in the chat window. But like I said, I'll follow up via email to get your address to mail them out. And Andy. All right, and again, let me switch this back. These were the prizes you could choose from. All right.
Great. Thanks, Julie, and congrats to the winners. And we will be in touch with you to get you your prize. And thanks everyone again for attending. We appreciate your time this evening. And please reach out to us, and thanks to the panelists for sharing their contact information as well. We are here to support your cyber journey. Good night, everyone.